Hiya, welcome to Darren in the studio. Thanks for swinging by for another video. It's not been that long, has it, since we were last together? I've even got the same t-shirt on from the last video. I did say that I wanted to get back to you really quickly and do this particular video. Of course, this video is about the brand new Alice Cooper album. This album's been out about a month or so now at this recording, and I wanted to do this video or I should say I didn't want to do it really quickly. A lot of people have done videos about this album. You will have seen no end of videos reviewing this album, and some people were reviewing it like on the day it came out. That's something I didn't want to do, because if you're a regular to this channel, you'll know that I am a massive Alice Cooper fan. I love Alice Cooper, both the Alice Cooper group and Alice as a solo artist. So what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to just, hear it once or twice and then sort of give my reaction and thoughts on it. I wanted to live with it for a bit. I wanted to give it a chance, because I think that's what you should always do with an album, because I think especially with Alice Cooper as well, you also miss things along the way. Some of the writing you might sort of miss. So I wanted to hear it a few times and get used to it. So if you have seen any other videos regarding this album, I'm going to try and do an absolute honest opinion, an honest review, give you my honest opinion on this new Alice Cooper album. Of course, this is the first album in 50 years or so since the original band kind of broke up. Breaking up, of course, back end of sort of 74, something like that. There was a greatest hits collection in 1974 to sort of like finish off the contract, probably really, with the original band. And then Alice was signed to Atlantic Records and made Welcome to My Nightmare in 1974, and then continued to be on Warner Brothers Records afterwards up until Dada's 1983 release. So this album features the original lineup of Alice Cooper, or the surviving members of the Alice Cooper group. Of course, Glenn Buxton, the original guitarist, sadly passed away in October of 1997. So we haven't had Glenn for a long time, but he does feature on this album. The wonders of modern technology, they've been able to sort of include him on one particular track, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. Of course, Alice Cooper, Michael Bruce, Dennis Dunaway, Neil Smith, being the original Alice Cooper group, and like I say, a special appearance from Glenn Buxton. They brought in another guitarist on this album to sort of fill what Glenn would have done and sort of give that feel of what Glenn had back in the day. And again, we'll get to that a little bit later on. I will reiterate that I am a massive Alice Cooper fan. I love Alice Cooper's work, I really do, and I still think today he's still a relevant artist within not just the rock sort of field, but throughout all music. His influence is felt, far and wide. There's no doubt about it, both as a solo artist and, of course, the band itself. This is the first album with the original band since 1974's Muscle of Love, and Glenn Buxton wasn't really part of Muscle of Love that much, really, because he kind of succumbed to drink and drugs and stuff like that, and the producers of that Muscle of Love album just really didn't think that he had the capability of being part of that album, so he was sort of replaced with session musicians. But like I say, he is featured on this album through the wonders of modern technology. Let's get to the review. This is the vinyl version of it. I didn't go for the deluxe box set, extra sort of stuff, t-shirt and all that kind of stuff, because I'll be honest, I'm not really interested. I'm just interested in the music, really. I understand if you buy the CD version, there's a couple of extra tracks, so maybe along the line, once I start to see it in the sales, I might pick up the CD. This is the double yellow vinyl version of it, which I don't think really is that sort of special. I don't think it's that sort of rare or anything like that. It's a little sort of hype sticker that I've put on the front. After 50 years, the new album by the original Alice Cooper Group, the natural successor, it says here, to Billion Dollar Babies, Killer and Love It to Death. Limited coloured vinyl, and it runs also at 45 RPM, which gives it a really nice sort of, really good sort of full sound to it. Double album. This is the front cover. I quite like this sort of B-movie styling, you know, horror B-movie kind of thing. Got some things written here on the front. The return album the world was afraid of. The original band, 14 new songs, Is There No Mercy? These are all sort of made up, of course. My Soul Needs a Shower. Bubonic Plague, Black Death, Polio, COVID, and now this. Deeply disturbing. Do we really need this? These are obviously made up sort of reviewy kind of things, but are any of them sort of ringing true a little bit? We'll find out in a bit. Of course, across the top here gives the original band, starring Alice Cooper, Michael Bruce, Dennis Dunaway, Neil Smith, also featuring a special appearance by Glenn Buxton. The album itself is actually dedicated to Glenn Buxton. It says on in the inside, dedicated to our brother Glenn Buxton. So there's the front, there's the back. Got all the track listing on there. Nice sort of matte feel to it. I like the way they've done that. Feels really good as well. Nice quality card as well. At the inside you get who played on what and some of the production information. You see that? And on this side, nice sort of illustration of the snake. Both records come in their own bespoke sleeves. This depicts Alice on this side for side 1, and you also get the lyrics to each of the songs, 3 on that side. Side 2 depicts Michael Bruce, 3 songs on there as well. Second disc depicts Dennis Dunaway for side 3, 4 songs on there, and side 4, legendary Neil Smith, of course, 4 songs on there as well. These illustrations are the ones which are featured on the front cover. They're sort of composite put together. Like I said, these are the yellow vinyl. It's sort of like clear vinyl. You see through it a little bit. Clear yellow. That's disc 2. Disc 1, of course, same. Nice bespoke labels for each one. Now, something that I wanted to do for this album, like I said before, I didn't want to just jump in on it when it was first released. I wanted to give it a bit of time and play it and listen to it and really sort of try and almost try and connect with those earlier Alice Cooper albums. You know, albums like Billion Dollar Babies and Killer, Love It to Death, School's Out and so on. And try and get a feel and sort of try and hear what was in those albums as well as this album, if that makes any sense. The track listing is as follows: Black Mamba, Wild Ones, Up All Night, Kill the Flies, One Night Stand, Blood on the Sun, Crap That Gets in the Way of Your Dreams, Famous Face, Money Screams, What a Sid, Intergalactic Vagabond Blues, What Happened to You, I Ain't Done Wrong, and it finishes with See You on the Other Side. Double vinyl album. Mentioned earlier that it runs, both records run at 45 RPM, so it gives it that more sort of punchy sort of feel to it. I'm going to be absolutely honest. Do I think this album is Billion Dollar Babies? No. Do I think this album is Killer? No. Do I think this album is Love It to Death? No. Do I think this album's School's Out? No, I don't. Of course, there were 2 other albums by the original Alice Cooper Group, Pretty's for You and Easy Action. I don't think this album comes anywhere near as good as the other original Alice Cooper Group albums. I really don't. Does that mean it's a bad album? No, not at all. I think it's a great album. I really do. It's got some great songs on here. Some really, really good songs. And the more important thing that I really wanted to mention was this album has that simple sound that the original Alice Cooper Group created. I think with Alice Cooper as a solo artist, especially in recent years, certainly in the last sort of 10, 15 years, his albums for me have become very sort of muddied, if you will, very sort of overplayed. Lots of guitars going on, and you know, although Glenn Sobel, his drummer for a long time, both live and on album, although he's a great drummer, you don't have to have a million miles an hour fills and, you know, lots and lots of stuff going on all the time. What I really like about this album is almost its simplicity in its recording and playing. I think it's got some really great musicianship on it, and I think the production has kind of been stripped down as well, and the music, the playing has been stripped down. You can tell it's Michael Bruce playing. You can tell that it's Neil Smith on the drums, and Dennis Dunaway is probably one of the greatest rock bass players, in my opinion, of all time. His playing is so distinctive. His playing is so obvious, you know. And I think of all the musicians on this album, I think Dennis Dunaway, his bass lines are the ones that reflect and replicate that original Alice Cooper sound. You can really hear those old albums within his playing. Can you hear those old albums throughout the others? Not so much. Maybe Neil Smith because of his stripped down drumming style, but not so much with the rest. I also think, although I will reiterate, I don't think this is a bad album at all. I also think the writing isn't there. I'll be absolutely honest with you. You know, there's nothing on here like Killer or Dead Babies or Unfinished Sweet, any of those really clever sort of lyrics that the Alice Cooper Group used to write. And I think over the last good sort of 20 years with Alice Cooper, I personally think that the writing has really dropped off big time. I think Alice Cooper in the past was one of the greatest lyricists of all time. Really clever writing, funny, scary, sort of reflecting the world in a sort of different kind of way. This album, I think, lacks that lyric side of things. There's nothing on here which made me sort of go, wow, that's a great lyric, or the way he used that, or they used that in context of whatever was weird or funny or had a double meaning or whatever. A lot of people watching this video will know exactly what I'm talking about. The lyrics, I think, have really dropped off. One track in particular they issued as a single not so long ago. I thought Black Mamba, which was the first single off this album, I thought it was a good track, but it was very sort of, the lyrics, again, maybe the lyrics on this album are what lets it down. Although Alice sounds great on it as the vocalist, the lyrics themselves really let the album down, because there's a lot of nights, bites, rights, sort of all this kind of really typical rhyming is in there. Now don't get me wrong, it's hard to rhyme anything with right or night or light or bite or fight, but this album is full of that sort of stuff, especially the track Up All Night. I mean, the chorus, I don't even have to look at it. The chorus is, I can keep it up all night until the morning light. You better treat me right. I can keep it up all night. It's like, what? However, the verses are great. The verses are very clever in Up All Night. but the chorus on Up All Night absolutely lets the song down as far as I'm concerned. And I think, like I said before, I think a lot of what's going on here is the writing side of things, the lyric side of things lets it down along the way. The guitarist, who they've used to kind of replace Glenn, you could never replace Glenn Buxton, of course, but the guitarist that they've used kind of stays in his lane as well. He doesn't sort of go, he doesn't try to get involved too much with it. I'm going to try and pronounce his name because I really can't pronounce his name. Gyasi Huus, Gyasi as his first name, Heus. So Gyasi, we'll just call him Gyasi, right? He's coming on this. There's no photograph of that particular gentleman on this album. There's a few other guest performances along the way. Something I really wanted to mention about, not necessarily this album, but this isn't the first time that the original Alice Cooper group have got back together. Alice's last album, Road, featured a song on there called I Hate You, which featured the original members sort of talking to each other and playing on the song as well, which was a great track. They were sort of like slagging each other off, telling them, saying to each other what they hated about each other, within the band. Also, on Alice's Paranormal album, the group got back together and recorded a song called Genuine American Girl, which had fantastic lyrics on it. Again, about a sort of cross-dressing guy who wants to be a girl and all that kind of stuff. And the lyrics went right to the bone, came right to the bone of it. And don't get me wrong, over the last few years, there have been sort of glimpses of that kind of writing, both with the group and Alice on his own. But I don't think Alice Cooper has written an incredible lyric, really, since maybe some of his early 80s stuff like Prettiest Cop on the Block and stuff like that. I mean, Prettiest Cop on the Block from Skeletons and from Special Forces is just the kind of thing that Genuine American Girl is. There's no Genuine American Girl kind of things on this. It's all pretty safe. It's all pretty sort of what Alice has already been putting out for the last sort of 20 years or so. So in all, I like the album. I think the album stands up well. It's been doing absolutely brilliant here in the UK. I think it went into the top 10 album charts and went to #1 in the rock chart, which I kind of expected it to do anyway. The Revenge of Alice Cooper, the brand new album from the Alice Cooper group. It's out now. It's out on the Ear label. 2025, available as a double album. And like I said earlier on, the CD I think has a couple of extra tracks, re-recordings of earlier Alice Cooper group sort of stuff. So is it a bad album? No, it isn't, not by a long way. But is it the album that I was expecting? No, I don't think it is either. I think it for me, and as much as I love Alice Cooper and I don't really want to sort of slag it off, for me it kind of falls short a little bit. I think there could have been a lot more to this record. And possibly, down here it says, like I said earlier on, the return album the world was afraid of. And some of these sort of slagging off My Soul Needs a Shower, the original band, 14 new songs, Is There No Mercy? Maybe some of them are kind of ringing true a little bit. The Revenge of Alice Cooper with the original Alice Cooper group is not a bad album, but it's not Billion Dollar Babies, it's not Schools Out, it's not, I don't even think it's Muscle of Love. And I don't think it comes anywhere near sort of Welcome to My Nightmare or any of his early 80s stuff, which still had that really clever writing. The artwork's great, love the artwork. The playing on it is great. Musically, this is a really great album. But lyrically, it falls short. And there's no songs on here, to be fair, there's no songs on here which really sort of grab you. The song, by the way, I almost forgot, which features Glenn Buxton, is a song called What Happened to You, and it was written by the original Alice Cooper group, and apparently Glenn's guitar was taken from a cassette recording that Glenn had made, and they sort of uncovered it and were able to use it on that particular track. Check this album out. If you're an Alice Cooper fan and you're undecided, then get it, because it's worth having. It really is. There's some great songs on here. Like I said earlier on, musically I love it. Lyrically, not so much. I think it lets itself down a little bit with songs that are very, very safe. So, The Revenge of Alice Cooper, it's out now. That's my honest opinion. Love to know your opinion on this album. Don't take my word for it. If you totally disagree with what I'm saying, let me know. If you agree and you've got something to add, then let me know in the comments. Until next time, we'll see you again in the studio for another video. Until that time, look after yourselves, look after each other, and we'll see you again in a bit. Ta-da.